out, my name's Joel Bridges, and I play Orson Welles.
Hi, my name's John Watson. I run the program at USC and put this all together.
My name is Dagmar Bova, and I'm one of the directors.
Hi everybody, I'm June and I play Virginia Nicholson. I really like to start out with what inspired this film. It's really such an interesting story, and I'd like to hear about. I know this is a true story, and how did you choose this story?
John, do you want to talk about how that story came to be?
Yeah, okay. I'll talk about how it got started. So we've been making these feature films at USC this is the 7th one we've done, and I always try and find something that's really challenging, that's about something, I don't know, controversial, interesting, different, trying to find a new spin on it. And it occurred to me that it would be kind of fun to do a play within a play, and then, Shakespeare, of course. What's the most interesting Shakespeare play? Most cinematic Shakespeare play about Macbeth. And then a friend of mine said, did you know that there was this all-black production in Ireland in 1985 directed by 20-year-old Orson Welles? So I rushed to my computer, checked out Wikipedia, and went, okay, that's it. Voodoo Macbeth, that's gonna happen. So in the fall semester, I put together a writing room. We had 8 writers, and they came up with this approach, this whole sort of through line of intercutting the play with the drama of putting the production together. And then in the spring, we brought on the producers. Jason started with him, and we chose our 10 directors, of which Dag was one. And we launched into production. And I sort of stepped back and let them go make a movie.
A wild process, let me tell you.
So I know that there's several writers and directors on this, yet this is a very seamless film. How did you make this so seamless between everybody? What was that process like?
I mean, this movie is a million emails to get this to come together. It's a lot of talking, a lot of communicating. We did so many different meetings where we'd have 10-hour days where each director would come in, meet with the producers, the department heads, and we would go through their basically 10 minutes of the film with each director. About every 10 minutes you see this movie, there's a new director. And we would talk through their logistics, and then we'd go to the next one. And then we'd do these over and over again. The DP met with the directors extensively to kind of talk through everything. So it really becomes like the ultimate experiment in collaboration. It is a challenge to the auteur way of filmmaking, and allows a group of individuals to come together and really form a community. And in a lot of ways, it embodies the themes that are present in this movie, community over the individual, and that there's power in groups of people coming together to make something with one common goal, and that's stronger than one person trying to will people into their way. That's not helpful. So I think we kind of took that approach all as a huge team effort. I'm so lucky to have worked with all the 10 directors, the other 2 producers, Miles and Ivy, and we had such an amazing group of department heads and crew come together to really make this possible and make it feel like one seamless movie.
I think one of the other things that was really impressive about this is how period specific it was in every detail. Tell me how you were able to create that for an indie film.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I mean, the art department on this film really blew it out of the water. Marin Jensen, yeah, give that a round of applause. It was a team of like basically 5, Marin, Alexa, Jenny, Emma, and John, and they killed it, and they did so much research to get this period accurate, and they did so many different things to kind of pull different props together, right? So we worked with Warner Brothers on this film, and one of the really special things they gave with us on this was actually an unlimited pull to their prop house. What they didn't know at the time is that I had trucks waiting for us around the corner, and we brought out the trucks, and I was like, okay, bring that to that storage unit. Okay, bring it to that location. Like, the theater can store a ton of stuff. We're okay. And the theater was like, whoa, what is all this stuff? And we really just like kind of took it and ran with it. And then obviously they were like laughing and like they thought it was funny in the end. And we returned everything in one piece. But it was really just honestly a lot of like sweat and some tears to get all this stuff into the space and get it right and do a lot of research to make sure we were doing everything accurately and showing it on screen.
There's so much talent in this film. I mean, there's so many actresses, actors with fantastic talent. How did you find your cast? And tell us about that process.
Yeah, I mean, so they can maybe talk a little bit about what their experience was, but Inger was actually in our original table read, and so that's how we found a lovely Inger. And then Jewel and June, we found through the audition process. Jewel we found through the audition process, and June actually acted in a test film. So each director in this movie makes their 10-minute segment with no resources. So they'll shoot it on their iPhone, they'll shoot it on pretty much anything in their house with their roommates, so that we can watch the movie from end to end and go, okay, director number 7, you're going in a completely different style than directors 1 through 6. Now we need to figure out how to unify it, and where is the overlap between the two, and how can we find like the great compromise between those two. Sorry, I went into a totally different tangent here. But, so with how we found the talent, with how we found the talent, we did so many auditions, and it really just became a labor of, I mean, this whole thing was a labor of love, but staying up every night and just watching every single audition. Even when Jewel auditioned, like right when we watched his, I was like, did you guys get to minute 10 of this audition? Because our auditions were like long, these scenes are pretty long. And I was like, it's incredible. And then it just blew my mind. And so we just got so lucky that we had so many amazing people come to this project. I think that's in part because this is such an important story that needs to be told. The universe is bringing the people to us to get the story told in the correct way.
So I know we have some of our cast here, and I'd love to hear a little bit from you, but tell me how you prepared for these roles. Did you research, or how did you capture these roles so accurately and so wonderfully? Especially, I mean, it was period specific, so there was a lot to be done here.
One of my favorite things is the casting process happened pretty quickly before we went into shooting. And I remember when Jason gave me the call that we'd be working together on this, he joked with me that feel free to eat as much as you want in the next 2 weeks. And I had to look at him and I was like, you don't know what my metabolism is. This is not going to work within 2 weeks. But for me, I knew going into it that with the time frame we had before we shoot, there was no possible way that I'd be able to do that kind of a physical transformation. And it really freed me up, because it allowed me just to focus on the spirit and the psychology and the feel of Orson. And for me, the quickness of the project allowed me to be so much more creative and free, and I think that happened a lot with the cast.
And I would, well, other than having to eat a lot of food, I would say a very similar thing. I was on tour at the time, so between being cast, finishing tour, and starting to shoot was literally a matter of days. So as much research as you can do in a limited amount of time, and just really throwing yourself into the process, trying to find the emotional core of the character, I think was the most important thing for me. And also just having a sense of the importance of telling this story. Like, I was blown away when we did the table read, because, you know, obviously I read it a little bit before, and then we got to the table read, and as everyone is reading their part, I kept thinking, how have I never heard of this?
Right. Yes, I had the same exact thought. It's so incredible story.
It really blew me away. And I lived in New York for a while. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't know about Rose McClendon. I didn't know about any of this. So I think it was just also having such a sense of, as I think Jason said before, the importance of telling the story so that people would know. And to think that Rose McClendon was boss. Like, I don't know if you saw at the end, but she started 11 other units. So I love that.
So let's open it up to the audience now for some questions, and forgive me, it's hard to see with the light, but oh, I see one down front here, please, you first and then you, so you, with the black shirt on, you, this looking behind you, you, with the black shirt here, and the red shirt, you, or you closer, either, or you.
I really love the film. My biggest question, it seems like this movie is a miracle to be made for the extraordinary work you did. It's a labor of love. But my question is something we are struggling here in Hollywood because you really did an amazing work in terms of diversity and inclusion. It seems like I was watching Hamilton for trying to bring the race issue not important in an important matter. You know, it's important, but it's not as an important. So we see a Afro-American or Black teen movie, but in the movie we see a community. Can you talk more about how you were approaching those issues? Because it's really beautiful, the work you did, and you did it very well.
So the question, just for the camera, is, first of all, a compliment. The diversity and inclusion in this film is really great. And he wants to hear a little bit more about how you created that in the film.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is based in history, and then a lot of the other parts of the story we brought from the characters' histories and condensed them into this one moment. I mean, this movie we had so many discussions about the themes of this movie at basically like a roundtable situation where we talked through everything so much ad nauseum to the point that we really all came onto the same page together. I think that's what helped us get that. The writers did an amazing job of forming the blueprint for the script to allow for so much inclusion and diversity to be on screen. And I think it's so important that stories like this keep being made and be made way more. So, yeah, I wasn't in the writer's room necessarily, so I wasn't there when they were starting to put the pieces together. But I think when you have so many people with so many different backgrounds come together and everybody's voice has a chance to come to the table, you're able to get that kind of experience. In the writer's room was a very diverse group of people as well. So, do you guys want to speak to that as well? Zach, do you want to speak to that as like as a director coming together like that? Or?
Sure.
Yeah, you don't need to. But
I mean, this kind of movie is just like a dream for you to make, you know, where
If you could speak into the microphone.
just because, you know, it's, like you said, it's showing race, but in a different way, where we're just kind of accepting that's the reality. And also, like, I guess, in a way, some stories like this, the reason we don't know about this is because those kind of things were not public and made to show for everybody. So I think that's why I think this movie is really fun for that, and a great opportunity to bring everybody together and tell the story.
All right, next. Yes,
It's about time, right? So, you know, I'm an old white guy, and I've been making mostly old white movies for most of my career. It's time for a change. It really is time for a change. And the thing is about USC is we have, in the cinema school, we have an enormously diverse student body. There's more women than men now in the program. There's people from all over the world, and so we're finally starting to tell those stories that got neglected for so long. And you know, when I discovered the Voodoo Macbeth story, that was part of what I wanted to celebrate. You know, this is an amazing event in Black theater history, which, as Rose said, is very little known. So it's something to sing about, something to talk about, something, and it's fun to do. And we had, I don't know, an immensely diverse writing room, an immensely diverse group of directors, and the cast, obviously, as you all saw. And, you know, it's more and more. Let's do more. I mean, I think we are. I think finally the industry's catching on, right? We're just starting to see more personalized movies from different parts of the world, told by different voices. And I'd like you all to meet June, by the way. Can we get June up here? Take your mask off. Let's see June Friday. Virginia Wolf, in person. Tell us about your experience.
Oh, sure. I'll talk about how I prepared, I guess, that question. There isn't that much in history books about Virginia Nicholson, which was really interesting. It was a really amazing opportunity for my imagination and for the history to meet each other somewhere, hopefully nice, in between. But the one thing that stuck out to me a lot when I was reading about her is that there was a quote that something about Orson fell in love with her because of the stories that she told him. And I thought that was so amazing because we think of Orson Welles as being this powerhouse storyteller. But in the privacy of their home, maybe she was the entertainment or the dynamic storyteller. And I just loved thinking about that and digging into that and also exploring what it meant to be a woman, and especially the wife of a up-and-coming, very successful actor, director, writer, and how she held her own in that space. So that's what I was working with, and I feel so lucky that I got to work with these beautiful people. So thank you so much for coming to watch us.
Because we knew what it was going to be from the beginning, I really give credit to our producers, directors, writers, because collaboration was on everybody's lips from the beginning. So all of the directors, regardless of their individual eyes and personalities and styles, they very much communicated to us that they're really going to look to us to make sure that we have our eye on our complete through line and trusting us as actors. So it very much was that dialogue from the beginning. We felt very comfortable with communicating with them. If there was ever an issue with, hey, you're communicating this, but I know this in the story, or even something as simple as we just blocked it. This scene, we already did this, and everybody was so willing to communicate. So honestly, because we knew that was the beast from the beginning, it ended up not being a hurdle for us, honestly.
And, just to like throw a hat off to them, not only did we have like sometimes 8 directors in a day where you shift every hour, we were also shooting all the theater sequences in backwards. Because we had to take apart the set as we were going to create the different stages as the stage is building. So not only are they working with different directors, but they're also like working their arcs in an opposite direction and having to like kind of like piecemeal like that and know where they are. So what they did was so incredible, and the directors worked so well together. And it's just like such a beautiful unit.
The LGBTQ plus aspect of the film, they wanted to know if that was a true piece of the story, and then the second, they want to know distribution, if that's worked out yet.
Yeah, so the LGBTQIA plus side of the story is not based in, like, I guess, real facts, but there were gay storylines happening all the time. It's theater too, but also in the world at this time period. So I consider it fact, even though we did create a narrative within this space. I think it's really important to tell gay storylines in these time periods because you don't see them very often, and they were fully happening. And so I think that's one of the great things about this film, incorporating it. And then in terms of distribution, that is still an ongoing conversation. We're playing at festivals coming up, which is really exciting, and we're just kind of keeping on the ride and hoping we can get as many people to see it. If you like the film, VoodooMacbethFilm.com, you can see where we're going next. And you can, promote us anywhere you want. Won't say no. But you can also reach out to us with other questions too, and we're always on the other line answering that email.
I think you're going to have no trouble with distribution, and hopefully there's somebody here tonight with
Real quick to piggyback real quick, when it comes to the historical accuracy of LGBTQ, all the stuff about the red tie, all the stuff about the masquerades, all of those things were time period accurate. And I really commend the writers for doing their research in that. So if you're interested, please go and do it, because the information is out there about the presence in those communities and at times the queer booms that were happening even in this time period.
Start to finish, the writer's room lasted about five-ish months. That's from like basically September or late August to beginning December. And then we had, production was about a month, about 26 days. And then we edited for about a year, and sound design as well. So I would say all in all about a year and a half, 2 years to kind of get through everything, and then the pandemic hit, and then we're like, whoa, heavy. And so, yeah, about 2 years. Yeah.